what we'll notice first of all is that an account that we made up for this is Alex Johnson. So we had a call here with Alex Johnson, and when that was completed in AirCall, it was imported into Grain. So we'll look at that in Grain. So this is actually an AirCall generated call. We generate the transcript as well, and we'll do some basic meeting notes on top of it. And so what this allows us to do is, in the context of Grain, or in the context of AirCall, or in the context of HubSpot, be able to have this continual view of the customer in a way that gives us a sense of what has happened, what did they want, what are the next steps, for example. And so that's actually kind of where we're going to kick off from here, is that Grain has analyzed the transcript and identified that the next step is a meeting, is a Zoom meeting with Alex at 8 a.m. So one of the nice things about Grain and HubSpot is that we have a deep integration. So we matched the phone number of the contact with that was imported from AirCall. And so now I can view that contact, and I kind of got back to that same record I was looking at just a moment ago. And the activities associated with Alex are here in HubSpot. And in particular, I've gone ahead and I've scheduled this meeting that is going to be happening here with Alex on Thursday. So let's go ahead and kind of skip ahead into Grain, and we'll go to our calendar. And even though it's scheduled for Thursday, I actually kicked off this call a moment ago, and it is live in the background. So this is Grain joining the call, and it is creating a live transcript. So this is the desktop application. We'll actually skip and just do it here on the web. So this is the live transcript that I've been running for the past 15 minutes or so. And what this allows someone to do is to leave comments at specific moments of, this is great, let's review it later, and turn a conversation into a collaboration with the team, where you can create threads around very specific moments, and you're not left being like, oh, go watch that one call, but instead can have collaboration around specific moments, or being able to go through and create highlight clips around specific parts of the call of summary of the concern. During the in the post talk, this is actually, these are auto titled using generative AI. We're just working on doing that live right now. So this is an example of the type of experience you'd have during the call, of being able to kind of flag moments or comment. Most of this collaboration tends to actually happen after the call, but it can be done live. And skipping forward to a meeting that's actually been completed, we'll look at an example of a meeting that has been finished. And so one of the cool parts of Grain is that you can really easily do, really easily create different templates and run those templates across your calls, and then it will summarize the notes to be exactly what you want. And so in this case, we're following a MEDPIC methodology, which is actually a custom template that I made. And we have some out-of-the-box ones, but if we go to edit template, I identified all these prompts that were representative of kind of how we define MEDPIC at Grain, for metric, economic buyer, et cetera. And then it will generate notes that is pretty representative across this one call around the criteria of the metrics and the economic buyer, the decision criteria is around the technical, economic, and relationship, the decision process that needs to be followed. Paper process, it just says, didn't really explicitly, which you wouldn't expect in the first call, implicated, pain, champion, and competition as kind of defined by the MEDPIC framework. It's not just the actual competitors, but also the economic resources that you're in competition with. There's a deep integration with HubSpot that happens completely automatically, so that these notes, and they get pushed as notes, or you can add them as the description in your meeting logs. So you can choose either one. Those get pushed automatically here to the activities as notes in HubSpot. So you don't have to copy or paste or do anything manually. And I think the thing I'm going to show next, which is towards the end of this demo, is, so we have this enrichment data, and so I'm going to open this deal in HubSpot. And Grain actually has the ability to add, we add custom Grain properties. So you can kind of tailor what properties are viewed, at your deal level. So at the deal level, what we've done is actually create, every time there's a new activity, right now it's just off of call activity, but in the future we'll also include email or continued air call and support or anything else. But this information is actually the aggregation of all, in this case, 12 calls that have happened, and it is updated to the current status of Medic. Actually, we have MedPick is what we've got in here, which is super interesting because even as I was playing around with this, like paper process, for example, didn't come up until the 10th call when it was ready to close, right? And so after every meeting, we're going through and we're updating this, and we're identifying if there was a champion at the beginning, and if that champion is now a little bit different. And it turns out in this case that the champion did switch on the last call, and that's being summarized here in this information with easy access. And I feel like it's pretty representative of not just the, I would say, utility at one individual deal, but a lot of the powering of workflows based on an AI assessment of using a qualification framework like Medic or MedPick or Spiced or any other framework that is really not just on one call. It's supposed to be representative of diagnostic of why it's going to close, or forecasting about how likely it is to close, or diagnostic of why it's at risk of not closing. And even if, say, we don't close, being able to go back and look at this summary of how good we were and what the actual content was around this discovery methodology that's supposed to be representative of how the deal is doing. And there's actually a lot that we're doing in product to try to take these signals and bring it into like a deals dashboard that shows all of the HubSpot deals, et cetera. So I think the last thing worth showing is that we actually we have a concept called at risk, which is kind of a culmination of the Medic qualification, some activity. And so there's a little bit of Gen AI, a little bit of predictive AI, to ultimately have a flag that says that it's at risk, a deal is at risk. And if a deal is flagged as at risk, this is an example of a report where we're like looking at deals that are at risk by stage. So this is in deal progressing. Here's contract negotiation. So even though there's a deal that's worth 10,000 in contract negotiation, it's been flagged as at risk. And that at the management level makes it a lot easier to be able to like know where to focus and where to dive in. And then this at risk will change dynamically as Grain updates if it's at risk based on the actual content of the calls, not just the activity. The fact that it happened is part of it, but the true power of this at-risk flag is the content of what is actually said in these calls, and whether it's representative of being on track or being truly at risk. So in this case, so I actually was reading that wrong. So at risk is false. So this pipeline is healthy, and this is the place where I actually really want to like dive in, is on this one individual deal. And the last thing I want to share as well is like, being able to trigger a workflow off of this at risk. So this workflow is a pretty basic notification to where what we want is we want to engage with these deals if they're at risk. And so being able to, trigger and send a Slack notification about a particular deal that is at risk, and then updating it and saying that it is no longer at risk, is just an example of one type of workflow that can be triggered.